If you don't mind, thank you. Just for the picture, please. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm Kevin Proto with Locals Supporting Locals. We're here for another segment of the Heartbeat of the Okanagan, and we're at another GMO rally because a lot of attention now is really becoming, a lot more people are becoming more aware and a bigger fight against GMOs here. So this is April 9th, and across 31 cities in Canada now, people have rallied to say no to GMO alfalfa and just no to Monsanto, period, here. So we're actually at Ron Cannon's office here. And we're here also with Alexa Monahan.
Hi.
Yes, and why are you here today?
I'm here to support the rally. It's obviously a very important issue right now, and yeah, it's as a local business owner and someone who's been involved in the organic industry for 20-something years, it's an issue that's really close to my heart. So.
Well, and Alexa here actually works with Nature's Fair, which is one of the big supporters of our local farmers, brings in the local organics.
We do our best to support as much local as possible, and it's an issue that's also really important to our customers right now. It's a growing issue. People are really demanding more GMO labeling, and they want to know what's in their food. They're tired of having to guess or not knowing. They're worried about the future health implications for their kids, for themselves, future implications for the planet if GMOs continue to grow. So.
Okay, so like one thing Locals Supporting Locals promotes is the solution, and Heidi says it as well. It's judged by your dollar. So you having the connection with even though it's Nature's Fair is not like a big corporation, they are. You have 7 or 9 stores throughout.
Yeah, we have 6 stores throughout BC. Yeah, and we do our best to buy as much local and offer and organic as possible, because organic is the only way. Right now, anyways, that we can truly know that there's not a GMO product in the food that we're eating, or a GMO ingredient. And then knowing where we're buying our food from, so we know where we're getting it from, then it's we're more rich.
Because what I'm trying to get to here is you would have the heartbeat on this if people come into your store and demand the products and demand with their dollar. How much power does that have with the store?
Tons of power, because the more people demand the product, the more we're going to obviously bring in those products to sell, and that's our philosophy is that we want to support local and we want to sell organic, and the more people that buy it from us, the more we can buy it from local farmers, the more we can support the organic industry. So it's really all full circle, and we all need to do our part. So it's definitely true that people vote with their dollars, and that every dollar that we spend on organic food, on non-GMO food matters.
So exactly. So that's what people need to understand. It's where you put your dollar at the end of the day that will make the difference here. But you got to go into the store, talk to the manager, talk to the produce manager, and tell them, what you want. And tell them you want the local, you want the organic, you want the real food. Even natural farmers as well, because some of them do it because they can't afford the certification, right?
And even if you're not shopping at Nature's Fair, which I hope you do, but if you're not, then use your dollars to support organic sections at big grocery stores. Don't buy the conventional foods, and then that's making a big difference too. We're seeing a lot more organic foods in conventional grocery stores. So it's obvious that consumers are demanding organic, they're demanding non-GMO products, and so we just have to keep that momentum growing.
Thank you so much, Alexa.
Thank you.
Because it will spread like wildfire. It's the world's first perennial plant that's genetically modified, and it's completely unnecessary. Alfalfa doesn't need chemicals. It doesn't need to be protected from weeds. So the whole idea of making a Roundup ready alfalfa will mean that us consumers will all be eating more Roundup contamination in our food, our milk and our meat.
And you're saying that even crops that don't have the GM alfalfa are at risk?
Yes. Right, okay, because now there's 3 types of food. There's organic food, there's conventionally grown food, and then there's GMO food. The problem is that GMO traits don't stay put. They cross-contaminate other farms, and you lose certification of organic standards, for example, but it also contaminates the regular farms. So it's not just organic growers that are at risk, and it's us eaters who are the long-term risk. We're a test experiment at this point.
How do they cross-contaminate? Explain that to us.
Well, it's a tiny little seed, so if you can imagine the tiny little seed, it's going to blow with the wind, or there's any birds and bees and combines and any number of ways that it will transfer. There's no such thing as coexistence with Roundup Ready alfalfa and natural alfalfa.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the United States. Maybe touch on that a little bit. Like, what other countries have introduced this?
None. We're it. We are ground zero for GMOs, and this is not a national heritage. I think that I would like to support as a Canadian. And the United States has released approved Roundup Ready alfalfa already, but we have not done so in Canada, and I want to keep our consumers eating healthy food free of Roundup contamination, which would be residual effect of eating the contaminated hay. And that would also transfer to meat and milk products, by the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because of course of the feed, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so no other country has done this?
No.
So, okay.
Well,
so,
except for the United States now.
Oh, what would be the benefits of GM alfalfa? What would people who support it, what would they say?
Honestly, they don't have a leg to stand on because, like I said, Roundup doesn't need chemical input. So the only benefit is that those seeds are patented, so they become a corporate owned, and therefore they can sue when they contaminate a neighbor's field. They can actually sue that person who couldn't stop the wind, and they're actually sued for using the technology with a license. So it becomes a corporate commodity instead of a free seed.
If this is approved, how is the average person impacted? You're saying everyone's impacted.
Everybody. Well, we're going to eat, like I said, there is residual Roundup through the animals eating the hay, and so we will get it in our meat, milk, and dairy and cheese and all of that. And there's no health testing. There has been zero health testing done in Canada whatsoever on any of these crops. Health Canada has done 0 studies to date.
So how do you know it's bad?
Well, because independent studies, that's a great question, as a matter of fact, Claudia. Independent studies, for example, France took the same corn, to change subject, took the same corn that Monsanto approved after 3 months and Health Canada approved, and that we're all eating unlabeled in the supermarket. But in France, they took that corn and they tested it with the same rats for 2 years. So same rats, same corn, 2 years. And they were riddled with tumors, they have liver damage, kidney damage. And so there's scientists all over the world who are reporting on health consequences. It's just not being done by our government, and it's not being reported here yet.
How close is this to being approved? I understand the government's already taken a number of steps.
They're just waiting to rubber stamp it. It could be any day. That's why it's a national day of protest with 31 cities across Canada having similar protests today.
Do you really think you can make an impact, a difference?
Well, that's a good question, but the point is most people don't know their food is modified. So the difference is when the media comes out and we educate people, because we only need 15% of people to change their voting, to their buying habits, basically vote with their wallet, occupy their fork, and the stores will bend over backwards to bring us healthy, GMO-free food.
Have you had a chance to chat with Ron Cannon?
I have had many opportunities to speak with Ron Cannon, and he's firmly invested in promoting GMO technology, and he stands by his party. Every single vote he has voted with his party to support GMOs in Canada.
Have you made contact with him today about this protest?
I actually did have a fax and an email from him saying that regrettably he could not meet today, but we will be having an occasion in the near future to meet in person regarding some other issues I'd like to discuss about safety.
Any idea of how many signatures have been collected nationwide?
No, I really wouldn't know. I guess we wouldn't know till the end of the day when all the signatures have been delivered.
I'm surprised that there's this many people on very short notice. I'm Dr. Whitney, part of the True Food Foundation, but all the credit really belongs to Heidi, who has set this all in motion. About alfalfa, what really is the big deal about alfalfa? It's never been tested for safety. It will be coming on the market with a lot of Roundup in it because that's the nature of the patent. It's Roundup ready. That means the bees have eaten Roundup when they graze on these fields. Okay, I'll try to speak louder. It is Roundup ready alfalfa. It's not being tested for safety. It will be with us forever. There's absolutely no way to ever remove genetically modified organisms from this earth. They will stay with us forever. They've not been tested. They're not safe. And those rare occasions where they have actually been tested, they were found to cause tumors in rats when they were tested over a lifetime of the rat. They were found to shorten life expectancy. They were causing organ damage all over the place, liver, kidney. So there is no real safety with these genetically modified organisms, and it's simply a myth that they increase the production of farm goods. There's no proof that GMOs are helping to feed the world, but they are helping to feed certain corporations. The biotechnology industry has now been protected by Obama personally, and they have immunity from prosecution forever. You cannot sue Monsanto and others if you get cancer from their products.
But let's make a chant. No way GM hay.
No way, GM hay! 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 No way, GMO!
No way GMO. GM hay, no way. Let's try that again. GM hay, no way. 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 That's good. Okay, you guys are getting better. I think I'm getting worse. Who wants to take this microphone over from me? Okay, let's talk a little bit about alfalfa. Do you think most people know that it's like basically just, it's hay, it's food that animals eat? Do you think most people know that?
No.
I know, they think it's those little alfalfa sprouts in the store. Well, I got news for them. This stuff is hay, when it's fed to animals, and the organic industry relies on having pure, uncontaminated GM alfalfa, or GM-free alfalfa to feed to their animals. Otherwise, the animals are no longer organic. They're not making organic dairy products any longer. The meat will be contaminated. Not to mention family farms get ruined. If GMO alfalfa is approved, many family farms will be contaminated, and that will be the end of the organic dairy industry in this Canada forever. We must not allow the introduction of genetically modified alfalfa, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. I believe what's more about this alfalfa? What's more about this alfalfa? It's the first crop that's a perennial, which means it self-seeds. Right? Otherwise, normally, you could have to buy the seeds every year. But this thing is going to seed itself, which means we can never get it out of the environment. Once these things are released into the environment, they can never be withdrawn. It's not like a defective totem. We are with these things for the rest of human history. So we are affecting the food of the following people not even born yet, with these decisions that nobody supports. Who asked us if we wanted our food to be modified? Do you remember that vote? No. We want voice. We want voice. No GMO. We want voice. No GMO. We want voice. No GMO. Ron Cannon, are you listening? Is your federal government about to approve genetically modified alfalfa? No! We don't want it. We don't want it, and you refused to meet with us last week, and you're saying that your position on your government has not changed? Ron Cannon and the federal government and the Conservatives are completely on board with making more and more GMO for food for us to eat. As a matter of fact, they're also trying to introduce genetically engineered salmon, which are basically growth factories. They pump out growth hormones so they grow 6 times as fast as normal salmon. We will be eating those hormones, and what will happen to us when we're eating salmon unlabeled, which is not on the market yet, but here's another rally coming right around the corner, I believe. So we've got a lot of food issues, and most people don't know that the food has been modified. There's a difference between hybridized and genetically modified. When food is hybridized, people say all the time, oh, everything's genetically modified. That's not true. People are thinking about hybridization, and that is just a simple, natural plant-to-plant trait transfer. But that doesn't cross the species barrier. GMO is when you basically hack into a life form, steal genetic data, and stick it into a different life form where it never actually occurred before in nature. For instance, they have in the past taken genes from fish and put them into a tomato. You all know that. Is that natural?
No!
There's a reason it's called a species barrier. It's because everything shouldn't be mixing genes with everything, but we have no idea what the consequences, and there's no way of ever turning this situation around. Do you agree?
Yes!
So, for you who are not a member of the True Food Foundation, I would like you to sign up. There's no charge. You will be notified when we have events, when we have speakers, when we have rallies, and we need your support. I personally have spent over $25,000 over the last years of my own money trying to make public awareness, and I think the Okanagan has a greater awareness, and that we already have achieved a GMO-free zone in Cherryville. Did you know that? Yay! So I think we need to make a GMO zone free here. Yes! Does Canada want a GMO-free zone? No. But we do. Yeah. So what are we going to do with that government if they're going to continue this way?
Throw them out. Throw them out.
Absolutely throw them out. If they can't govern this country, if our legacy is to be the generator of the poison of the world for the rest of human history, when our government has not done one bit of independent testing for safety, then we've got a problem with leadership in our country. And damn it, don't make me run. I'm tired enough with my day job and the foundation, but if it takes that I have to run for government to change the government, so be it. Would you vote for me? Okay, but I don't know what party to join. We're going to have to talk about that. Maybe we can make something called the Green DP or the Liberal Greens or just, I don't know. Maybe run as an independent. I'll start my own party. Okay, going back to alfalfa. The organic stores are going to be affected as well. Just think of how many people are going to be affected by GMO alfalfa if it's introduced. The family farms are already being sued when seeds come onto their land and grow against their will. The farmers are actually sued for using technology without a patent, without using a license. Well, they didn't want it on their land. It blew there, it grew there, and they get sued. And then the corporation owns 100% of the yield on that barn, on that field yield. Is that crazy?
Yes.
It should be the other way around. The contaminated farmer sues a corporation, get your shit off my land. Not the other way around. But so far, the family farm is disappearing. And I don't know if you've seen these beautiful rat pictures over here. But these rat pictures represent the only long-term feeding study that's ever been done in the world. And they took the corn that we were eating all, unlabeled. They took the same corn and the same rats, and Health Canada approved them after only 3 months of safety testing. But the weird thing is that in 2001, Health Canada had already approved it with no safety data. No safety data in 2001 when Health Canada approves GM corn. So we've been eating it for 3 years, then the government gets a 3-month safety study, and now we're supposed to believe it's safe. Well, have a look at this outcome. The French took the same rats, the same corn, and they stood fed them for 2 years. And they are riddled with tumors. They have liver damage, organ damage, kidney damage, blood damage. They're very sick animals. We deserve, as Canadians, our tax money should go for a safety study. Safety study. Let's demand our government to take a 1 year or 2 year study. Can't we? Like, it's not putting, it's not rocket science here. It's actually just adding, feeding rats to corn. I think the government can figure that out for our tax money. Put our tax money to work.
organic food in the garden of the White House. Have you heard about Dr. Oz lately? You know how he badmouths organic foods all of a sudden? Well, him and Obama should see Dr. Phil, because their wives are of the exact opposite position. Lisa Oz, the wife of Dr. Oz, has actually narrated the latest GMO movie by Jeffrey Smith. She narrates it. And of course, Mrs. Obama would probably join us here if she could, while her husband is signing a law that gives Monsanto and similar companies the right to do what they do without ever being dragged into court.
Shame.
It's a bloody shame. Any other questions, or anyone else wants to come up and voice something and maybe say something to Ron Cannon? It's obviously being recorded. Ron Cannon is an interesting MP because 3 years ago he was actually on our side. Did you know that?
No.
3 years ago, Ron Cannon was one of 2 conservative MPs who voted against Harper, and that's why I always say this poor Ron Cannon is probably a good guy, but he's just between a rock and a Harper place. And maybe he was taken to that dungeon under the big house on the hill and shown the lobotomy tools. And then he changed his mind about how he's going to vote from now on, because lately he has not voted on our side. But Ron Cannon originally, like 3 years ago when Bill 474 was in discussion, he was actually on our side and one of 2 members of parliament from the Conservatives who had the guts to vote against the big boy. One very good thing about polyphenols, they're actually the immune system of a fruit. A fruit that turns brown actually defends itself against fungus, bacteria, and viruses. So Bill, polyphenols, you want them, right?
Yes.
What have they done with the apple? They have silenced that enzyme, BPO, that helps to produce polyphenols, and they're very proud of the fact that their apple produces 90% less polyphenols and stays lily white. The silencing process that they're using is far from being innocent. Silencing is one of the worst genetically modified modifications you can use. It is what biologists call, it is promiscuous. It rubs off on, for example, mammals that eat these products. So if you bite into one of those apples and you happen to hit the bit of that apple, theoretically you could transfer that silencing into your own genes that could then be transferred to your offspring. That is a worst case scenario, and there are reputable scientists that are very concerned about that happening, and especially also with the silencing that they're doing on the genetically modified wheat. So is there anything good about this apple?
No.
You're wrong. It's good for the shareholders, the 40 people that have invested in that apple. It's really good for them if Monsanto buys them out and puts this apple on the market, and from then on, the apples next door to that orchard will be contaminated. So anyone trying to grow organic apples next to that orchard or a few miles away even will be contaminated and will no longer be organic. So on CBC radio, Neil Carter, who was behind all this in Summerland, was asked what is he going to do about the bees spreading the pollen. Does anyone know what he answered on CBC radio?
Put up a high head.
Yes, he actually, with apparently a straight face, of course it was on radio, we couldn't see his face, he actually said they're going to prevent the spread of the pollen by growing hedges. Growing hedges around their orchards. And these are people that pride themselves on their scientific integrity.
He didn't tell the bees.
Right on. We got to educate the bees to respect the hedges that are grown around the Franken apple orchards. Well, thanks. I'll give a little horse here. Is anyone else?
I suggest you learn about this subject because it is the most underreported, most important subject in the world. Now there's so many important things, but this is different because this one we can do something about. So many issues in the world are so much bigger than us, and we feel helpless. And we feel like we can't succeed in making important changes. But with GMOs, we all eat, right? We occupy your fork. And I want you to vote with your wallet. When you go to the food store, if you go to a salmon store, tell them you're not going to buy any salmon if you're not going to label GMO salmon. Tell the food stores you don't want their food. We only need 15% of people to change their buying habits. Are you listening? Only 15%. And the stores themselves will bend over backwards to source our non-GMO product for us. So do you think we realistically...
Okay, so we're here with Heidi Ostermer again with a follow-up here from your last rally you just had here. Now, how many cities was this rally taking place in?
38 cities across the nation today.
38?
Yeah, it's a national day of protest.
Okay, and so what exactly, like this is for the GM Alfalfa, right?
Exactly. The government, federal government is close to rubber stamping GMO Roundup Ready alfalfa, and if they do that, it's the end of the organic dairy industry and meat industry in Canada. Not to mention all the conventional hay will be ruined too, so people are getting Roundup in their meat and milk products, whether they're buying organic or not. That's down the road, but I mean that's where we're heading if we contaminate our alfalfa.
Well, you made a good point there during the rally here, where the average person thinks of alfalfa and they're picturing this organic sandwich, you know, at a
Sprouts.
yeah, exactly, you know, and they don't have a clue how much it actually affects, right?
Well, it's fed to animals, so it's not just cows. It's fed to a large number of animals. So then, if we're going to get Roundup Ready alfalfa, that is going to be fed to the cows, and then we're going to eat the cows or the dairy or the cheese, and we're going to get all that residual Roundup in our food. And we don't need Roundup Ready alfalfa. This is a really hardy plant. It doesn't need chemical input. I mean, we certainly don't need Roundup that you can top spray with alfalfa that you can top spray with Roundup and it doesn't die, which means we're going to consume that as well. So I mean, it's just all around a gong show from hell.
Yes. So I mean, this is.
And as far as I'm concerned, Monsanto can grow to hell.
Yeah, I like that. So what was I going to say here? So basically, I mean, it's pretty evident here. This is a corporate takeover of our food supply.
It is a corporate takeover of food supply. It takes free seeds out of the farmers' hands, and it forces them to buy corporate seeds. And now when the farmers get sued, when their fields are contaminated instead of the other way around, it's over time eliminating farming choices and consumers' choices and putting all the seeds and control of seeds into the corporations that are controlling these as patented commodities instead of food.
Yeah, but corporations are all about our safety, of course, right?
Yes, they're wildly concerned about our safety.
It's never about their bottom lines, right? I mean, a good example to look at is with corporations is how much is oil again, or how much is a liter of gas now at the tanks? You know, so they control what the costs are here. So imagine if they control the food. Not only is it not safe for you to eat, but at the same token too, how much are they going to charge us?
True enough.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for doing what you do.
You could interview me before the rally, so I still have half a brain power.
Yeah.
Half a brain